What's up? You're watching Poot's Garage. This week we did something stupid. I bought another car. I bought something. I really shouldn't be buying more vehicles, but we did. Check out what we got. 1995 Jeep Cherokee XJ. She's a little rough. As you can see, she's been previously rolled. The windshield is out of it. The windshield frame is destroyed. So we got big plans to try and make this into something. So before I talk about why we bought this, let's go over it. A couple things that are going on with it. It's a Dana 30 front axle. It's sitting on a little bit of a lift. I think those are 4.5-inch springs, plus we have these adjustable spring spacers on there. So this thing should be sitting around 6 inches on the front. I don't know what's in the axles. I'm gonna have to figure that out as we go. I think the front is open. I don't think there's any good gearing in it. Pretty much stock. We got some decent 33 by 1250 tires, along with decent steel wheels. Nothing crazy, but hey, we got something with good tread that holds air. These are the Iron Man All Country MTs. The rear is a Chrysler 8 1/4 with a possible locker back there. It should have a little, I think, lunchbox locker. Not positive, so we got that. It's sitting on about a 4.5-inch lift kit in the rear, from what I can figure out. 4.5, 5-inch maybe. Got some decent bumpers on it. Rear's there. Front is winch ready. He had a winch for it, but in negotiating the price for this thing, he ended up taking the winch out, which is fine. I didn't want it. But you can see it is beat. Under the rear here, I'm kind of on the wrong side here to really show it. Drive shaft is actually maxed out. You can see there's no room on that slip, so I'm gonna have to shorten this drive shaft just a little bit, I think. Front end all looks good. That's a Rubicon Express short arm kit. One problem though I see is those control arms have an extreme angle to them. This thing rode real stiff in the front, so I think that's probably why. So we'll discuss how we're gonna correct that when in a little bit here. It's got Bilstein shocks in the front, the Rubicon Express shocks in the rear. Got a fancy transmission mount in there. Transfer case spacer drop kit, which is not ideal. Got that nice rear diff cover, so that's kind of cool. Got about $1.50 change out of it so far, making our money back. Let's have some fancy little headlights, some LED deals going on there. Under hood is mostly stock. This might be the high flow thermostat housing, possibly. And it does have an aftermarket radiator in here. It's got a pretty fat aluminum one, but it does have a small hole in it that we're gonna have to repair. No battery. He took that as part of the trade because, well, I guess he values his battery quite a bit. It's supposed to be 4-hole injectors in there, I guess, which are a little better upgrade for these. But other than that, there's nothing else really going on here. It's a 4-liter, which is an awesome motor. Behind that is the AW4 automatic transmission, which is great. I love those transmissions. They're pretty tough. And obviously you see the body is just trashed. The windshield frame is crushed in. Everything's pinched. The front end is pinched too, to the point where the radiator got pushed back a little bit. And everything went back, so I gotta correct all of that. We'll have to correct that so we can get a windshield back in it. This is the only door that opens, and I don't even want to close it because it's extremely hard to get open again. But yeah, everything is just, the doors don't open, nothing lines up on this anymore. Go inside it. You can see, I mean, just everything's just destroyed in here. The interior is, it might clean up okay. It's mostly complete, but like where the pillars are pushed in, I mean, it's crushing the actual dash here, and it's squeezing the entire dash from left to right. That side's hitting too, to the point where the glove box door hits. This trim piece is actually popped out because the dash is getting squeezed. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to try and straighten this thing back out. It's full of trash. There was all sorts of stuff going on. Remember that stain on the window right there? It kind of looks like a tomato. Probably had something to do with that. We'll get into that in a little bit. The interior really doesn't have a whole lot else going for it. It's got actually a decent little head unit here. This little Alpine that works. It sounds decent, actually, surprising with just the 2 door speakers. And looking at the back of this, I mean, it's got a back seat. It's got full interior. I mean, everything's here, so that's cool. The headliner is actually, well, it was in semi-decent shape. It wasn't sagging, which is the biggest thing, but it's pretty nasty. It does have the factory soundbar thing in the back on the top. That's kind of cool. Never had one of those before. But there's not else, I don't know, there's nothing really that cool in here. Only thing I found is like a punch. I found a nice punch. We're getting our money back one piece at a time. But yeah, there's just not a whole lot going on here. It's a 1995. It has 180,000 miles on it, so it's got some miles on it. Supposedly the engine is semi-fresh. Transmission is supposed to be semi-fresh. So I'm hoping that's the case. But it seems to run decent. But God, look at that windshield opening. It's just trash. I mean, it doesn't look too bad from the inside, I guess. Except like right there. I mean, this is supposed to be flat. It's all completely pushed up and pushed in. It's probably in several inches. Close up of the carnage going on here. You can see the drip rail is actually behind and below the door. It should be way up there. So yeah, you can see this thing took a beating. The whole roof is pushed up. So our A-pillar is actually flattened. This thing took a hit. This side hit real hard. This fender is flat. It completely crushed flat. It's kind of interesting to see. This side I think got hit more down, but it is flattened there, so it kind of went like that, I think. Kind of an interesting hit, which completely destroyed the header panel and everything. But you just walk down the sides here, and you know, that side's just all scraped, damaged. Scrape damage. Broke the door handle off. A little minor in the back end here, which is actually kind of nice. Passenger side pillar is pushed in a little bit, not as bad, but it does need to come out probably half an inch or so. Rear tailgate does not open. Both sides are actually pushed in. I think this is actually some previous damage that's pushed in. This side has a scrape from the roll. It's pushed in a little bit too, so I think it's just pinching the tailgate and it won't pop open. You can see all my body lines are real tight on the insides. But if you notice the roof rack's on there, this thing did not go on its roof, but it got both sides. Kind of tell you how we did that here in a little bit. You see, this side didn't actually scrape as bad. It's got a little scrape on the door handle, very minor there. Most of the damage is basically this whole front corner. Obviously we're missing mirrors. The hood is kind of bent down on one corner of that far side, but that's no big deal. Another look at our little lift we got going on here. You can see those upper control arms are pretty extreme angle. The track bar looks decent. So it's got track bar, it's got all control arms. Upper control arm is adjustable, which is kind of cool. Lowers are just a fixed bar, but the geometry on this thing is trash. I was kind of looking at this bumper too. I'm kind of curious what brand this is, if it's a cheap one or what, but like it's only held on by the 3 small, I mean these are factory bumper bolts, but there's pretty small bolts, so probably have to reinforce that a little bit more like a good kit would. So that's your first look at it. Let's go inside real quick and we'll talk about this because it's hot out here. The story of how this thing rolled. And so remember, there was some cheeseburger evidence inside of there. So what happened was the dude was driving it out in the desert, just cruising, having fun, probably going way too fast. Apparently he was eating a cheeseburger and I don't know, he's shoving it in his mouth or whatever, and he took his eyes off the road and the road turned. And so he kind of jerked the steering wheel passenger side, and that immediately caused the thing to roll. It went over on its side, and what happened is it flopped over to the driver's side real hard, and then after it hit the driver's side, it didn't roll over on the roof. Somehow, I don't know, the Jeep must have rotated. It popped back up on its wheels and then hopped over to the passenger side and flopped and stayed on that side. So that's the story of how it rolled, and it was all because of a cheeseburger, basically. So I might have to name this. This might be the first vehicle I name, and I might have to name it Cheeseburger just for fun. But yeah, so that's why there's remnants of cheeseburger on the windows from when it was sitting sideways, and it still has all the food in there. There's actually one of those big pickles in a sealed bag in there that you never got to eat. Yeah, I'm actually cleaning it out right now, and we're just kind of going through everything and collecting anything that's good and throwing all the trash out. It's not horrible. I've seen worse crappy vehicles, but there's a few good things in there. So yep, we're working through it. All right, why did I buy that thing? For one, this truck build has been taking a lot longer than I originally anticipated. We're still going on it. It's probably gonna go through this winter, doing all the tube work and stuff I wanna do. I've had the bug to have something that I can beat on, like actually take out and not care about. I'm not gonna do that to the new Jeep sitting out front. That's the 24 Rubicon. I'm not gonna beat the crap out of that. I'll use it kind of hard as a stock vehicle, even though it's probably more capable than that Cherokee. But I'm not gonna beat that thing up. It's too nice, too new. So I've been keeping my eye out on online for stuff, Facebook Marketplace basically. And mainly I was actually looking at like stock Cherokees. I couldn't find anything that had some like minor mods for any kind of reasonable prices, at least in my book, which is dirt cheap. So I've been looking at stock Cherokees, and even that, like I wanted to get a high output motor, which that is. I wanted a high output motor. Automatic transmission was preferred. And then the rest, it just kind of didn't matter. Just something that I can take out in the desert, beat the crap out of. And then maybe slowly modify on a budget as we go. But I had seen that one on Marketplace a couple times over the last couple weeks, and I kind of ignored it. I was like, I don't want to deal with, having to get a windshield back in that. All the stuff that might be damaged. But I don't know, it finally got to me enough that I was like, screw it, I'm gonna throw this guy a lowball offer and see what happens. And sure enough, he took it. He took the offer. We did have to go back and forth. I ended up trading him some stuff as well as some cash just to, I don't know, get him to agree to it. But it was stuff that it doesn't really matter to me that much. It was just kind of household stuff that he could use. So I was like, all right, well, you want this thing? You want that thing? Okay, I'll throw that in, that in, that in. And so it worked out. And I think we did really good. So what are our plans for this thing besides to just beat the crap out of it? Is to get it running, for one. Well, no, it runs. My first thing is to get a windshield back in it. We're going to do some creative beating, pounding, pulling, jacking to get the windshield frame back into a shape that can hold the windshield. The windshields on these are glued in, so I'm hoping that'll keep us from having to make it perfect. As long as it sets in there evenly all the way around, then we can glue it down. So that's my first goal, is getting a windshield. I'm kind of actually waiting on a call back right now from a company that said they have one for 110 bucks. So it sounded pretty good. So I said, yep, give me a call back when you get it out of your warehouse or whatever, and hopefully they don't forget about me. So get a windshield in it. It's number one. Two is we're gonna kind of go through and kind of fine tune a few things. For one, we got to fix that rear drive shaft. It's way too short. I don't want to blow out the transfer case on this or anything else with it if it bottoms out. So we'll take care of that. I have no idea how much that's going to cost. If I need to take it, probably need to take it to a drive shaft shop to make sure it's actually balanced and stuff like that. I don't know if I want to do a rear shaft. I would do a front shaft, but I don't think I would do a rear shaft myself. So we'll see what we do with that. Next is actually we have to straighten out the front end a little bit as well. We got to get the radiator off of the engine fan. It came back and hit it a little bit, so I don't know how much we have to pull and bend on that, but it'll just be more creative yanking and jerking. Make that radiator fit in there like it's supposed to. The hole on the radiator it looks minuscule. I do have to put water in it to verify, but it looks very, very small. So I don't know if we're gonna do like a creative patch job, or we can just pinch off that tube and, you know, fold it over and call it good. But it is an aftermarket radiator, which is actually really nice. I looked it up. They kind of sell for like 350 bucks. So it's actually kind of nice. So we'll try to maintain that. And then I do have to get like a new fan shroud because it's destroyed, and probably a new electric fan, because the electric fan side, it's all busted up too. And I found both of those items actually on Amazon for pretty cheap, so that'll be good. It's not going to cost too much to get those fixed. And once we get all that kind of taken care of and it's running, I'm going to fine tune the suspension a little bit. I think I'm actually going to buy control arm drop brackets to get those arms lower at a better angle. I hate those control arm drop brackets just because of the way they look. You know, they hang down so low and they look goofy and cheesy, but it's going to be a budget thing. You can get those brackets fairly cheap off Amazon. And we'll just see how that goes until, you know, maybe later on down the road I can find a budget like long arm kit or something, or even better like a 3-link kit. But that's all like farther down the line if we decide to really keep this thing and extend it, make it go further. So we'll get the suspension in a little better shape. The stock steering on these is really bad, so I might buy a cheap crossover steering kit on the front end just so I don't taco the tie rod. But this one seems to have lived for a while so far, so it might not be that bad. I don't think I need to do that like right away. I can survive without that for a little bit, I think. And then the way I envision this thing being is we get it all running properly, good, and I want to build a hybrid cage for it. We're going to protect what's left of the windshield frame. Basically, the hybrid cage will come up the front fenders, just at the A pillar. It'll come up, it'll encapsulate the windshield, and then we'll go over just the roof. We'll have our halo with the crosses and stuff up there, and then through the inside, all we'll have is just the down bars coming off of each pillar. And we'll try to keep it real simple but strong, and that's like all I want to do. And then because obviously the doors and everything are in such bad shape, the doors are just going to come off, the hatch is going to come off, and then we'll just make sure everything's reinforced properly so the XJ chassis doesn't fold when you take the doors off deal. But that's what the roll cage will basically be for. We'll probably tie the roll cage into the body itself using some, attachment plates and different things. We'll get creative with it. I think it'll be really fun. It'll be a good experience, good practice for the new tube bending that's coming up. So it's actually a really good thing. And really, that's it. I mean, we just kind of leave it the way it is. Oh, I got to get some sort of locker in the front end. I'll probably throw a lunchbox locker in the front end as well. I don't want to weld the front, I don't think. I would weld a rear end. I don't think I would weld a front end, especially with the rears not welded. I don't know. We'll probably just get a cheap lunchbox to throw in the front and be done with that. So yeah, that's it. We're just gonna basically make a budget wheeler out of this. I'm gonna do things as cheap as possible, as cheap as I can find. I'm gonna try not to overbuild things like I would on like this thing here. I've gone so overboard on this with a lot of this stuff. So we're really gonna try and keep things simple, just something we can beat on, break it, fix it, you know, just keep it simple. So yeah, that's basically it. I got another Cherokee. Anybody that's been around for a long time or knows me personally knows I've had a few Cherokees in the past. This would be my fourth one. I've had an 86, a 92, a 99-ish, that new body style, and now this 95. So it's kind of cool. Gone through all the kind of generations of Cherokees. But these ones are always kind of my favorite with the high output 4-liter and that, I don't know, more squared off body style. I always preferred. I liked it. Just more classic looking or whatever. But yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this. I want something that I can beat on. It's gonna be semi-streetable. You know, that's why I kind of want to put a windshield back in it and keep it usable. Take the doors off, you know, we'll build like I don't know, some tube doors or something so I don't fly out. Got the interior to lose weight, get rid of the carpet, maybe the headliner and anything else that's heavy in there. We'll try to get anything out just so it's a little lighter, but yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. So I hope you guys like it. This is kind of just the introduction to the new Jeep, the new project. We'll be getting into fixing it here soon. Like I said, I'm kind of waiting on a windshield today. Hopefully I can get that. If I get that, then I'll start ordering up some more parts as we need. I've been trying to contact a lot of people on Marketplace for used parts and everything. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of people out there parting these things out that are really ready to get rid of stuff. That and pick and pull is stupid expensive for things. So we're just gonna try and find things as cheap as we can and do it that way. But hopefully you guys like it, and hopefully you're excited as I am about having something that I can use very soon. And yeah, let's get to it.